In the modern digital landscape, what is the most valuable and fastest growing commodity? It's not cryptocurrency, it's not user data, it's human outrage. Our collective anger, our shared sense of righteous indignation, has been successfully harnessed, packaged, and transformed into a powerful, multi-billion-dollar economic engine. Viral conflicts are no longer just fleeting stories. They are highly valuable financial assets, meticulously engineered and amplified by a complex and symbiotic ecosystem of media outlets, corporations, and social media platforms that all profit directly from our clicks, our shares, and our ever-escalating fury. The recent incident at a Miami baseball game, involving a fan who took a home run ball from a child, serves as the perfect specimen to dissect this new and troubling outrage economy. On the surface, it was a simple, almost cartoonish story of right versus wrong. But if you look closer, beneath the surface of the drama, you'll see a sophisticated and highly efficient machine at work, a system where every single player, from the television networks that first broadcast the clip to the corporate CEOs who swooped in at the end, had a vested financial interest in fanning the flames of the conflict. Tonight, we are not going to debate who was right or who was wrong. We are going to follow the money. We will analyze how a perfect, monetizable villain was manufactured in seconds, how the media amplified the conflict for profit, how corporations descended to capitalize on the public's anger, and how our own attention became the essential fuel that powered the entire machine. This is the story of how a stolen $20 baseball created a thriving microeconomy built on a single, powerful, and endlessly marketable emotion: outrage. The outrage economy cannot function without a constant and reliable supply of its most essential raw material: villains. And the woman who would become known to the world as Phillies Karen was, from a content and monetization perspective, the perfect grade A raw material. The incident itself was a perfect storm of visual, emotional, and narrative triggers, almost as if it had been scripted by a team of viral engineers for maximum possible engagement. First, you have the setting: a wholesome, all-American baseball game, a powerful and deeply ingrained symbol of innocence, family values, and fair play. This created a powerful backdrop of comforting normalcy against which the crime of her actions would seem even more shocking and egregious. Second, you have the victim, who was perfectly cast: a small, innocent 10-year-old boy, a universal symbol of vulnerability that transcends all cultural and political divides. An injustice committed against a child is the fastest and most reliable way to generate widespread, uncomplicated sympathy and protective anger. Third, you have the hero figure, a calm, reasonable father, providing a relatable and empathetic anchor for the audience to latch onto. And finally, and most importantly, you have the antagonist herself. Her actions in the viral clip were visually and morally unambiguous: the aggressive, forward-leaning body language, the public, unapologetic confrontation, the alleged smirk of triumph. Every single detail was perfectly calibrated to create a villain with absolutely no redeeming qualities in the eyes of a global public hungry for conflict. There was no nuance to debate, no complex backstory to consider. She was, simply and powerfully, in the wrong. This simplicity is absolutely crucial for the financial success of the outrage economy. Nuance requires thought, slows down emotional reactions, and ultimately hinders sharing. A simple, clear-cut, almost cartoonish story of good versus evil is far more profitable because it allows for instant, satisfying judgment and frictionless, righteous sharing. The woman wasn't just a rude fan. She was the perfect spark, a character so easily and completely villainized that she could be instantly packaged, branded, and sold to a global audience. A spark, no matter how bright, is useless without fuel, and in the modern outrage economy, the media serves as an endless supply of high-octane gasoline. The role of sports commentators, digital news outlets, late-night television hosts, and YouTube commentators in this saga was not that of neutral, objective observers. They were active, essential, and enthusiastic participants in the amplification process. Every news segment, every outraged opinion piece, every comedic monologue, and every reaction video was another log thrown onto the raging fire, systematically increasing the story's reach, its cultural penetration, and, by direct extension, its profitability for everyone involved. The initial television broadcast itself was the critical first step. The announcers and producers' decision to linger on the shot, to let the awkward, tense silence breathe, and to replay the incident multiple times instantly transformed a minor ballpark scuffle into a major televised dramatic event. This gave the story an initial layer of legitimacy and importance. From there, the digital media outlets took over with ruthless efficiency. Websites and YouTube channels immediately clipped, edited, and repackaged the video with highly sensational, emotionally charged headlines. They understood, from years of data, that a title like "Shameless Woman Snatches Ball from Crying Child" would generate exponentially more clicks and therefore more revenue than a more accurate but boring title like "Dispute Over Ball at Phillies Game." This is the core, unapologetic business model of the outrage economy. These outlets are not just in the business of reporting news, they are in the business of selling engagement, and outrage is, by a massive margin, the most engaging and profitable emotion of all. The more anger and debate they can generate, the more comments, shares, and views they receive, which translates directly into higher advertising revenue and better brand recognition. The endless debate over the father's actions, the deep dives into the unwritten rules of baseball etiquette, these were not just journalistic inquiries. They were carefully calculated content strategies designed to keep the story alive, to prolong the conflict for days, and to maximize the total profits that could be extracted from this single, fleeting moment of human conflict. The media didn't just cover the story, they actively and profitably fueled it, because a raging fire is always good for business. Once the fire of public outrage was burning brightly enough to be seen from space, the final and most cynical players entered the arena, the corporate beneficiaries. The highly publicized actions of the Philadelphia Phillies, the CEO of Camping World, and the trading card company Blowout Cards should not be viewed as simple, heartwarming acts of kindness or corporate responsibility. They were textbook and brilliant examples of a new and powerful strategy we can call vulture marketing, the act of swooping in on a moment of intense public emotion to publicly align your brand with the good guys in the narrative, thereby generating massive, overwhelmingly positive PR that money simply can't buy. Let's consider the almost unbelievable return on investment. The Phillies and Marlins giving away a bag of merchandise and a signed baseball bat cost them virtually nothing, a rounding error in their daily budget. But in return, it generated feel-good headlines across every major news network in the country, painting them as benevolent organizations with a heart. The most brilliant maneuver, however, came from the CEO of Camping World, Marcus Lemonis. He publicly announced that he was gifting the family an RV and a trip to the World Series. This prize, likely worth somewhere between $50,000 and $100,000, was not a donation. It was a marketing expenditure. In exchange for that cost, his company received what was likely millions of dollars in free, positive, and emotionally resonant media coverage. His name and the name of his company were mentioned in countless news articles, television segments, and thousands upon thousands of social media posts, all framing him as a generous, decisive hero. It was an incredibly efficient and ruthlessly effective advertising buy. Even the much-publicized offer from Blowout Cards to buy the ball from the woman for $5,000 was, at its core, a marketing strategy. The offer, with its clever, must-write I'm sorry clause, was perfectly designed to go viral, generating headlines and brand recognition while positioning them as the quirky arbiters of justice who were trying to make things right and bring the story to a satisfying conclusion. In the outrage economy, corporations have learned that they no longer need to buy as many traditional ads. They can simply insert themselves into viral dramas, publicly choosing the winning side and reaping the immense rewards of positive brand association. They are not solving the problem. They are actively profiting from the existence of the problem itself. So, who truly powers this entire massive economic engine? We do. In the outrage economy, our attention, our clicks, our shares, and our powerful emotional reactions are the true and essential currency. Every time we share a viral video in a fit of anger, every time we leave an outraged comment demanding justice, every time we click on a sensational headline about the latest villain, we are making a small but vital transaction. We are feeding the machine, providing the raw material that makes these public shamings not only possible, but incredibly profitable for a select few. This complex system is not without a profound and often hidden human cost. The most obvious cost is to the person at the center of the storm, the designated villain, regardless of the severity of their actual real-world transgression, is subjected to a level of public shaming, doxing, and digital harassment that is often wildly and dangerously disproportionate. Their digital footprint is permanently and irrevocably stained, a punishment that can and often does affect their employment, their personal relationships, and their mental health for years, if not a lifetime. This is a system with no due process, no right to appeal, and no statute of limitations. But there is also a hidden cost for the designated heroes of these stories. The Feltwell family did not ask to become viral sensations. Their private, deeply upsetting moment was turned into a global spectacle against their will. While they received significant material rewards, they were also subjected to intense public scrutiny, with the father's every decision as a parent being debated and judged by millions of strangers. They were forced to perform their roles as the grateful, humble victims for a parade of news cameras and corporate sponsors. Even being the good guy in a viral story comes at the significant price of your privacy and autonomy. And finally, there is a cost to us, the society. By actively participating in and normalizing this addictive cycle of instant judgment and public shaming as a form of daily entertainment, we risk eroding our own collective capacity for empathy, nuance, and forgiveness. When we step back and analyze the Phillies Karen incident not as a human drama, but as a cold, hard business case study, the conclusion is both clear and deeply unsettling. While we, the audience, may have felt a fleeting and satisfying sense of righteous justice in seeing a villain get her public comeuppance and a hero get his just reward, the real, lasting, and financial winners of this entire saga were the corporations and media outlets who so successfully and skillfully harnessed and monetized our collective anger. They identified and manufactured a perfect, simple villain. They fueled the fire with relentless, sensationalized coverage. And then, once the fire was at its peak, they swooped in to collect the profits in the form of clicks, ad revenue, and priceless positive PR. The story of the stolen baseball is a perfect microcosm of our new digital reality. It proves that our attention, and particularly our angry attention, has become one of the world's most valuable and easily exploitable commodities. It leaves us with a critical and deeply uncomfortable question. Are we active participants in a new form of digital democracy, holding people accountable for their actions and enforcing social norms? Or are we simply unpaid, emotionally invested factory workers, tirelessly producing the raw material of outrage for a vast economic system that reaps all the rewards, leaving us with nothing but the lingering, bitter taste of our own anger?